Sure.
Okay, we're on. Oh my goodness. Wow, man. I think the devil is trying to stop us here.
Well, I mean,
Unbelievable.
trial and error. We'll look
Yeah.
back on this maybe 5 years from now and laugh.
Yeah, maybe 20
Uh,
years from now. Who knows?
yeah, because we're learning on the job, right? As Disney stated, he learned to fly by jumping off a cliff and learning to fly on the way down, you know?
That's what Disney, the Great Mason said. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh, shoot.
Right.
The
Oh
Great
man.
Mason. Oh,
Man,
man.
I don't know how you want to begin this. Okay, so this is a podcast that I wanted to do. We could
Yeah.
call this "How Coups Fail." We could call this alternatively. We could call this the plot against Donald Trump, or we can also call it the plot against Bernie Sanders, with what's happening in Iowa, right?
Yeah, I sent you a couple articles that we could go through a little bit. But, yeah,
Oh.
what is happening in Iowa? The numbers aren't in yet.
By the way, great Super Bowl, man. Awesome.
Oh, the Super
KC.
Bowl was fantastic.
KC, man. I don't know about the halftime show. We have a
I
disagreement
wanted
about
KC
that.
to win.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I did too. Yeah, come on,
But I
man.
thought the Niners were going to win.
I thought so too. Well, I think
thought-
the Niners kind of beat themselves, man. I think it was the bomb by Mahomes, man. That was the whole play right there, man. He fades 10 yards back, man. He shoots a bomb 44 yards out. Wasn't it Tariq, right?
Yeah, that kid is great. Yeah.
He burnt the safety, man. How did he burn the safety like that? You got to be kidding me.
You're right. I mean, you said it. Once he caught it, there were 4 guys there. Like, what were they doing? What did they think once Mahomes rolled out?
No, well, if you take a look at it, man, you know, I used to play defensive halfback. Man, he gave him too much space. He gave him too much space, man.
But
Look at the safety. I know.
How could you?
Because he was scared. He was worried about the man's speed for some reason, right? Ridiculous.
Oh, worried about him getting behind you?
Yeah, I was worried about him getting behind him, so he gave him a lot of, a wide berth, and he just made a nice cut to the left of the field, and he just got it in the pocket, man. Caught it right there in the pocket, man.
Yeah, you send me that video. I was really upset. Super Bowl 13.
Yeah,
Dallas,
but it's
okay. To the Steelers.
No, I'm a diehard Dallas fan my whole life as well too. But a great game is a great game, and these are two of probably the most legendary teams that ever faced each other. Probably the greatest number of Hall of Famers on the field at one time. If you think about that, amazing.
Just as a fan, those losses are hard to take. I grew up with great disdain for the Steelers.
I got it.
Still have it.
So did I, but then I think Bradshaw redeemed himself, man, and the fact that we're New Yorkers, and you got and Steelers booming under Trump, okay, and seeing Pittsburgh boom the way it's booming now. I don't know.
I just wanted to say one more thing.
Yeah, tell me.
Stallworth was incredible. He had so many big plays.
He ate them up.
He did it against
more
the
than
Rams
Swan.
as well.
More than Swan too, man.
Against the Rams, he did it as well. Swan was knocked out of that game, I believe. I just saw it.
In this novel,
and Stallworth had 2 long touchdown passes.
In this novel that I'm writing, every first novel is an autobiography, and so this one is going to be about our life and co-op and all that stuff. But anyway, what do you call when someone's name fits perfectly your way of life? The niche in life that you assume. What do you call that? There's no name for that, but I have a list of about 50 names that just work perfectly. For example, we have the lead, the head of our parish over here. He's a young guy, very good-looking, tall. He's dedicated his whole life to God, and his name is of God in French, de Dieu. It's just so perfect. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I know what you're saying.
And so one of the things that I find perfect. Oh, okay, we could say Adam Schiff. That's why we have all these jokes about cut the Schiff and all that stuff. Adam Schiff is perfectly for him. Yeah, Shifty Schiff, perfect for him. Okay.
Chuck Schumer's a schlub, I guess. New York.
No, well, you think of Chucky, right? That's what I think, right?
Chucky, the doll.
Yeah. Okay, man. So Montana, as I know you hate the 49ers, but you got to love Montana to some degree. Montana, cool, you think of a mountain, or you think of, you're thinking about a cowboy. That's perfect for him, man. Starback. You think of someone, I don't know, strong when you hear the word Starback, and it's
like I think of Buck Rogers or something futuristic.
Okay, but maybe the perfect name in all of sports were the double duo, man. That you have to love or love to hate or respect no matter what. Stallworth and Lynn Swan, perfect name. Stallworth means
John Stallworth,
right? It means
it's like regal. It reeks of success, stalwart.
It kind of suggests that that he cannot be stopped, that he's dependable. And Swan suggests someone who's, right? Just,
Life. I mean,
right.
Watched him on his feet.
Right. Lyrical on the field, right?
Yeah.
But that's right. And I remember Lynn Swan back in the day when we were kids, when he said that actually what helped him, which was so perfectly fit his name. I thought that when I was like, yo, hi. He was saying that actually he was taking ballet as, to help catch some of Bradshaw's passes.
He made some great ones.
Wow. But I mean, Doomsday D, Steel Curtain. Come on, man. What a perfect matchup, man.
It still hurt me, man. Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. You love Bradshaw. Come on, don't even give me this, man.
I never did.
And Montana? Come on, man.
How am I going to love Montana when he beat the Cowboys in 81? And Niners took off. Cowboys went down after that.
I know. I hear you.
I like Dan Marino.
I love
Marino.
Dan, too. Yeah, I love him too.
He's probably the only 80 quarterback I really love.
All right, but my point is, no matter whether it's a team, if it's actually a good contest, you got to celebrate that. For example, what was it? I think it was the Patriots. No, I think it was the Bills' first loss against the Giants. Well, Hofstadter, right? And right, the last field goal that was wide, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, what a Super Bowl! What a Super Bowl, man!
No, of course I appreciate a good game, and I love the game.
Yep.
Immensely. I love college football.
Yeah.
But last time I'll say this, harbor resentment against those Niners because 81 was the turning point. That was Dallas's last gasp.
Yep.
And I believe they lost, let's say, 4 NFC championship games out of 5. So
that heartbreaker of an NFC championship against Montana, man, right?
Yep.
Pass to who was that again? Remind me, who was that pass to?
Dwight Clark.
Oh man, that broke my heart, man.
Everson Walls in the corner,
Yep.
and people forget Randy White came. Not Randy White. Quarterback White threw like a 40-yarder. Danny White threw, I think, like a 40-yarder when they kicked it off to them across the middle to Pearson, and he barely got tackled.
Oh, Staubach wasn't in that game?
No.
Ah, okay.
And if he didn't get nicked, he runs and he scores on a 70-yard bomb, and Dallas wins.
Got it.
But with White, they lost, I think, 3 NFC championship games in a row.
Wow.
Yeah. But we got the Niners back in the 90s with Emmitt Smith. We beat them twice.
Yeah, and we also got the Steelers back too, man. Come on, right?
Yeah. I mean, I watched that like 3 weeks ago. I get so excited. Yeah, I'm insane. How about the old Raider teams or the old Dolphin teams?
Yeah, you got me into the Raiders, man. Yeah, just recently.
Oh, they're cool.
I like them. I know I was never really into them, but I was into originally, back in the day, man, it was the Jets in Namath.
Yeah, I got you.
Remember that very well. The Dolphins, perfect season, right? I was into that very much. For some reason, I had like a 1-year stint or 2-year stint with the Redskins, only because from the Sears catalog, man, we bought the Redskin jerseys, so I had to.
You did?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
The maroon one.
And with all due respect, your pops was in D.C., and your pops bought a Redskin hat. I'll never forget, baseball hat for Cliff.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, and I kept begging your father down. He broke my heart. I begged him as a kid to get me the same hat. He never got it from me, man. But that's good. So I remained a Cowboy fan the whole time.
I thought you had, didn't you have a soft spot for the Dolphins?
I always did until I spent too many years in Florida. But, my story in Miami. So, I kind of like cut the nerve. Yeah, man, I would come on. Are you kidding me?
I know you.
I was obsessed with the Hurricanes, the Dolphins. Of course, man. I saw them after the Orange Bowl, and I saw the Florida State Miami game when they were up there, the two of them. I think they were vying for the national, for first place.
Every year.
Around that time, yep. And I saw also, I went to the Orange Bowl, and I saw Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl, the final. Wow. Notre Dame against Miami as well, too.
Yep. Miami crushed them. Miami never lost over there.
No, I think Notre Dame won that game. Check it out.
Possibly
Check it
not.
out. I think so, actually. All right.
No, Notre Dame beat them at home where Miami
got. Let me tell you, that was around 95. You tell me.
Yeah. Cleveland Gary, they said he fumbled on the one, actually scored.
Okay.
And Miami lost to Notre Dame 31-30.
Yep.
They scored with like 3 seconds left, then they went for 2, and it was knocked down.
Yep.
But a couple bouncing balls here or there. Miami, they have 5 national titles. They have about 8 titles because they got robbed against Ohio State. Game was over.
Yep.
That Notre Dame game, they got robbed.
Yep.
It was another year where Miami was 12-1, and the computer put Florida State above them in the title game.
What?
Meanwhile, they beat Florida State. The team, they put Florida State over them, and they never got to play for the title.
Right.
Florida State eked out a victory where Miami would have probably blew that team out. They, you know, with the, let's say, being very favorable, they win 8 titles. Penn State, they had 6 turnovers, lost 14-7. So
that's unbelievable.
You know,
Yep.
I'm a big Miami fan.
Yeah, I was too, man. I was probably a more avid fan than you were back in the day.
Really?
Yeah, but I kind of, you know, I changed sometimes, man. I've always been a Michigan fan, and over the last 10 years, I've been a Notre Dame fan. So there you go. Penn State, I like Penn State. You know, and Ohio State, man. I like these blue-collar areas. That's my whole point. I like teams from the Rust Belt typically, but I love the SEC too. I love the Deep South. USC,
I love them all.
Recently, USC, you know, has been, you know, catching me because of, I don't know, man, the tradition, the cheerleaders, man. They got the finest cheerleaders in the world, I think. Easily, right? I'm not allowed to say that. Sorry.
You know, I've always been a fan of Musburger. And the way he hyped up a game with all his adjectives and the video they played was so enticing. For example, when Miami was playing Notre Dame mid-80s and they had the rivalry, and you heard Musburger say, Notre Dame, you know, the tradition.
No, see, that's not –
down Jesus. And then they go to Miami. They show Miami. Look, Miami, the nouveau riche of college football. The in-your-face, you know, boldness and South Beach. And, I loved it.
No, to me, the voice of college football, particularly Michigan, Notre Dame, is Keith Jackson. That was my voice, man.
Yeah. You can like Keith. I liked him.
Beautiful,
I like Musburger. I
love
the way he hooked it up, the pregame. When Miami's playing Nebraska, you got to give these guys credit. They would fill like a field in Nebraska. Nebraska.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Tried and true.
That's great filming, man.
Nebraska, tried and true. Steady. Miami, you know, the city, the lights, the panache. You know, the two cultures clash. Miami, Nebraska. Then they'll, let's say, interview a kid from Nebraska. Look, we're going to go out there and play. How do you deal with their quickness?
Wow.
Don't just think we like to hit. And then, you know, the Miami kid is brashness. Our speed. They can't deal with our speed. You know, I just love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's so real because so anti-politics, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you're deciding on the field. Like you can't fake it. You know what I mean?
That's what I told the good wife here. I told her I've been having tears in my eyes. I had tears in my eyes watching Mahomes, not just Mahomes, but just the whole KC thing and bouncing back. I just saw the you probably can't say the Pats and the victory of the Falcons. You know, what an amazing thing! I think they scored like 28 points. I don't know where I was. I think I missed that Super Bowl because this is un-Super Bowl country over here, man. Everything here is football meaning soccer. You know. You know, this is just that one sport, for goodness sake. Maybe a little bit of rugby.
That's EU communism there, man. Just one sport.
Let me tell you, in all the world, let me just say, in all of the arts, I'm going to say the sporting arts are the greatest of all arts. There's some perfect purity to that. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Oh, you're right.
I know. No, I'm going to take that away. Actually, there's a caveat there, and that's actually the amount of money that gets hashed around that pollutes the game. That's why college sports is so much more important to me than professional sports.
Well, they're
particularly
making
college football.
Too. The resource.
Something smoking there. There's something on fire in your house.
I have an incense.
All right. I was trying to save you there, man. All right.
Thank you.
All right.
But Chris, let me tell you,
got me into
football, really.
Yeah, let me just say.
My father was into it, but you took it to another level.
I'm going to say, and of all of sports, I got to think about that for a moment. Yeah, it's probably true. The greatest of all sports in all the planet is American football when it's that perfect moment, like the Steelers versus the Cowboys. Okay?
You can't beat it. You can't beat it.
I love this game, man. I have to say 3 years ago, the last Super Bowl was fantastic, okay? But also Pats versus Philadelphia, man. That was awesome. That was just a shootout.
You know what's interesting?
That was a shootout, man. I loved it.
You know what's interesting? All this parity in the league has brought great Super Bowls.
Yep.
You know, you don't see the Cowboys beating a team by 30 anymore.
Yep.
The Niners beating the Broncos 55-10.
It was boring for some time, right? There was blowout.
Yeah, it actually was. 70s were great.
I think when the Broncos were blown out, I forgot what team. I was just like 5 years in a row where they were just blowouts, right?
Yeah. They were,
okay.
I just named some.
Yeah, okay.
Niners 55-10. Redskins where they score 35 in one quarter.
Yeah.
Remember Doug Williams?
Yeah.
That was like a blowout. I mean, an honest blowout. Niners blowing out the Chargers.
Yep.
Cowboys blowing out Buffalo.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So you did have those blowouts, which were boring.
Yeah.
But I have to agree with you. Nothing's better than college.
Well, let me just say, in terms of the purity of sports, there might be one thing that might be a little bit better, but I'm not sure. But it might be because it was our own life and our own context, and that was the New York Yankees, the Bronx Bombers, 77, 78, right?
Man.
One of the world. Greg Nettles, Chris Chambliss,
great.
Lou Piniella, help me out. Catfish Hunter, man, on the mound, or Ron Guidry. Oh, wait. Help me out here, man. Reggie Jackson, of course. Billy Martin. Yogi Berra, man, in the dugout, or Billy Martin. And you got Steinbrenner with that personality. Yep.
Thurman Munson. Yeah,
I remember when he died, too, and they announced him on TV. I was watching. What was it? That movie that they used to show in the afternoons. The 4:00 movie or something like that on Channel 7 on ABC. Anyway, they had an announcement when they talked about Thurman Munson's death. Yeah, that was. Then I remember, was it the Daily News? And they had the sketch, which was amazing.
Kid crying, I think.
Yeah, something like that. And Him in Heaven or something like that. It was very famous.
They wrote something on it was, no, I don't feel like playing today.
I mean, that actually was a very magical moment as well, too. And let me tell you, that was around, when was Son of Sam? Was that around Son of Sam? Around that area,
yeah.
And that was when the blackout was, and the Bronx was burning, and the Bronx is literally burning, and almost every day you would see actually smoke from somewhere in the Bronx. Another building was on fire, and you wondered, what the damage would be, and whether anyone did not get out safely, like which happened all too often.
I can recall my dad having an office on 149th and 3rd.
Yeah.
So I think
in the South Bronx. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. It almost, as people stated, looked like Hiroshima.
Yeah, it was
shocking.
They had Japanese tourists who used to come to Manhattan and hop in a bus, and they would drive through the South Bronx, like Charlotte's Avenue, Banana Kelly, where our family grew up, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they would say, I was going to say Godzilla, but I'm not going to make a joke like that. But they would say like Hiroshima, Nagasaki. That's what they say. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't know what this has to do with Iowa, the Iowa caucus.
A little stream of consciousness.
Well, let me just say, okay. So bringing it back home, man. The purity of sports versus the nonsense of today. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
So one big question I have here, okay, in the coup that failed or the coups that are failing, all right, thus far, knock on wood, is this big debate that I'm having at the highest levels and at the lowest levels, and let's say amongst our political leaders and amongst the rank and file voters, okay, whether madness is set in or whether they're being deceptive. A person can be deceptive to themselves and to their cohort and to the rest of us. You know how sometimes people say one thing when they're within their own group, but then outside their group they say another thing? I've seen that happen very many times with my Latino friends or African American friends, and it doesn't matter. So, Jewish friends,
like a parent,
French friends.
Could it be like a parent protecting their son? They know their son's not a good guy, but he's their son. Okay,
that's part of it. Okay, I see that, and you're protecting your own. But I think it has to do with the idea that we have a true face. I mean, that begs the question, if anything is true, well, there is a true self. I think as a Christian that there is, versus our political self. And maybe everyone in a sense is perpetuating some sort of a political, presentation. they're asserting themselves politically. They're asserting themselves in the political space, is what I'm trying to say here. Do you know anything about Irving Goffman's presentation of self in everyday life? Oh, it's one of the most amazing books you can read from the University of Chicago. You should read this. And it's the idea based on Shakespeare's notion that all the world's a stage and we play our part in it. I tried to tell your niece that actually at the wedding. I was trying to tell her that about because she was saying she's a budding actress, right? And I was saying, are you being yourself? And she says, what is myself? And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. And that's the problem with acting, that you tend to lose your sense of self at some point. But the thing is, when it comes to politics,
if you're a working actor.
But my wife tells me that all actors lose their mind because they don't know who they are at some point. And they're like, what's my motivation? All day long. What's my motivation? What's my motivation? But it's kind of true when it comes to politics too. You don't know when to shut it off and whether there's any truth to oneself versus our political self. Anyway, the point that I'm making, for example, we had an argument with one of our frat brothers who's been going on and saying, and he's a lawyer, by the way, without mentioning names, and he's suggesting that he's very partial to the Democratic point of view when it comes to the Ukrainian, what I see to be perfectly a hoax. Now, I see this as a lawyer as illogical and perfectly political in motivation.
Yeah.
I mean, I very much take the Dershowitz point of view here. For goodness sake, how could you not? The Jim Jordans of the world.
Move away from your mic a little.
Okay, the Devin Nuñez's of the world and all that. For goodness sake. And yet, he insists that no logical mind, particularly those who have any sense of the law, can think otherwise, that the Trump has committed impeachable offenses, and actually the facts prove up that he should be impeached. And then he goes on to suggest that including evidence about Biden Jr., at least the testimony of Biden Jr. is illogical. It's not logically connected to the arguments at hand. And I'm like, how can anyone not logically see, even if in the end that you disagree on the facts that Biden Jr. did anything wrong, how could you not see that it's logically connected and that it's relevant to the case to see what in fact his testimony is? Well, I don't get it. I agree with Bolton. That might be relevant. I mean, okay, there are a lot of people who may be relevant. You have to draw the line at some point in terms of evidence.
Chris, the question is, once again,
I'll be right back.
Are they telling the truth?
Keep going. Yeah.
Where are you going?
Get some to drink.
Oh my Lord! Are they telling the truth?
Yeah.
Number one, are they lying?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Number three, are they uninformed, or is there a combination of each?
We're talking about.
I think it's gotten to the point where the demonization of this president is at such a high level.
Yes, that's my point.
That the ultimate goal is to get him out, no matter what. And if you don't mind me parlaying that into what Victor David Hansen said in the article, When There Is No Normal. And this came out on January 28th.
Yep.
Said one of the ancient modern critiques of democracy
I just knocked
is that radicals destroy norms for short-term political gains.
Okay.
Norms that they themselves often later seek as refuge.
Mm-hmm.
So Victor David Hansen, professor from Stanford, the Hoover Institute, is saying that the Democrats are willing to suppress the Constitution and truth to win now. I think that's obvious because when we hear the banter that in the Senate, they didn't have the witnesses that they wanted to have.
Right.
Meanwhile, before that, in the House, they said they had a case already. They didn't need any more witnesses. The proof was there. Trump is going down.
Right.
Victor David Hansen says, if I could just go right here, he says, Nancy Pelosi, Schiff, Nadler are currently furious that the Republican-controlled Senate advocates the rules of the trial of the impeachment of Donald Trump, but their appeals, whatever their merit or lack of same, fall increasingly on deaf ears. One reason is the House started out when they did this impeachment inquiry, it started out in a House basement.
Right.
They were marked by unethical collusion with the so-called whistleblower to jumpstart the proceedings.
Right.
They relied on selective leaks and were not symmetrical in the summoning of witnesses from both sides, and the proceedings were outsourced by Schiff's intelligence committee because of its greater power of secrecy rather than the more appropriate House Judiciary Committee.
The argument that actually they may be mad versus being deceptive is that they're just being consciously deceptive. They're just playing politics, right?
Yeah, I think they want to win at any cost, like the owner of the Raiders said. Just win.
But I have to say, okay, maybe that might be true amongst the highest, at that level, okay?
Yes,
when it comes to political leadership. But let me tell you, when it comes to people who vote, I think they've literally lost their minds. I'm not going to lie to you. And I think there is something about Trump derangement syndrome. I know people have been, passing that around a bit. But man, goodness, I could see it. I could see it.
Yeah.
Your higher sense of reasoning has just died here. They actually say, you're beating us with facts. You're killing us with facts. How unfair of you to use facts. I mean, that's a failure of reasoning to start arguing like that.
Hold on. Hansen says there is a madness involved.
Yeah.
And what is shocking, he gives an example of those that perpetrate this madness, like Congress.
Yeah.
They never think they would be, and you could correct me on Shakespeare here. Mm-hmm. What's the term he uses? Hoist by your own petard?
Yes.
Meaning you set the trap, but it ends up trapping you.
Yes.
He brings up the French Revolution and the Jacobins, that they instituted this reign of terror.
Yes.
Few of them seriously expected that they themselves would stand convicted in show trial courts.
Yeah.
That they established.
Yeah, they all did.
Very interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What he's saying. And one more thing.
They put everyone to the guillotine, and they face the guillotine themselves in the end.
Yeah, and he says this is all because of short-term gain. Yeah. And he says it's amazing that, and I'm making this up here. He didn't say this, but we're talking about a president being impeached on a whistleblower, a third-hand account.
A non-whistleblower. He doesn't meet the criteria of a whistleblower.
Right, but
which has to be based on first-hand information, and apparently it's based on hearsay. But anyway.
But yeah, it reeks of Kavanaugh.
Right.
It reeks of Jesse Smollett. It reeks of Covington Catholic.
And the fact that it's a hoax, but also it's guilt by accusation. That's what we're dealing with right now. Yeah. But it's even worse than that. I mean, Schiff cannot stop lying, or at least, saying the most bizarre things imaginable. I think it was yesterday where he said that if you vote to acquit this president, then he's going to consider himself a king, and God knows what he could do after that.
Right.
Okay. For example, he may sell Alaska. This is the last comment that he made. But you could go on ad infinitum about things that could happen. But that actually, as someone suggested, that makes his crimes out to be not only just thought crimes, but precognition crimes, just like you had a Minority Report. Crimes before they manifest. Crimes before they manifest in one's mind, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But there's no indication that he's going to sell Alaska, for goodness sake. It's completely absurd. Or do something as bad as that. He has not shown himself to be the boogeyman that they've all made him out to be. In fact, I'm more scared about Uncle Bernie. The funny thing is both the Republicans and the Democrats are equally scared of Uncle Bernie.
Well, Uncle Bernie will take us to,
Which do you prefer in this scenario here, as someone who loves your country and now has a politically right point of view, well, in more ways than one, the correct point of view, I should say. Would you rather the criminals, elect the criminals like Biden and Clinton and company, who are relatively moderate, I suppose, right? Relative to the honest person who's completely out of his mind, and the people who are behind him are out of their mind. So you had the madmen versus the criminals. All right, the madmen versus the criminals. What do you prefer in that scenario?
Let me ask. I'll tell you how I'll sum that up. The great baseball player Tony Oliva would be in the Hall of Fame if he didn't have injuries.
Okay.
3-time batting champ, great player. I asked, would you rather face Tom Seaver or Jim Palmer?
Wow.
You know what he told me?
What?
That's like asking me, would I rather get a lethal injection or die by hanging?
Really?
So, either way you die, either way it's both difficult.
All right, number one, who would you rather Trump face? Who do you think he'd have an easier time against? The Bloomberg's Clinton faction or the Biden faction versus, for example, Bernie?
I think he'd probably have an easier time against Bernie.
Oh, really?
Because,
Okay.
Yeah, because the arguments are so far apart. Someone is talking about free markets and capitalism, and we could show. Hold on.
Yeah.
We could show the benefits of that.
Yep.
And what has occurred. People are led to believe poverty is not the norm. It is.
Yeah.
Being successful and having money and choice is the exception, and it's rather new. As Soul says, we should ask the question, not why our country's poor. We should ask the question on why a country's rich.
Yep.
And how could we implement those things?
Yep.
Or I was telling someone today, look at North and South Korea. I mean, that's a beautiful contrast, right?
Yep.
80s West and East Germany, We could look at those examples. Even Puerto Rico and Haiti, or Puerto Rico and Cuba, let's say. That would be a better example.
Yep.
But, so Bernie would be easier, I think. I think Bloomberg might be difficult because he has the resources.
Yep.
He could say, I don't owe anyone anything. But Bloomberg might get a lot of heat in that he is so rich, number one. And number two, I don't know if people anti-Semitic, this is a big choice for them. Maybe that's a case. Biden's going to try to say, hey, I am going to keep the peace. I am the norm. Let's not rock the boat.
I think it's going to be quite easy to fight against Biden. I mean, if he's bearing the heat now and not bearing it too well, imagine when they're on a debate stage, Trump and Biden, and he's going to come up with, the Ukrainian corruption and his son and all that stuff. I mean, how's he going to deal with that?
I'll challenge you to push-ups.
Yeah, exactly. What, he's going to grab him by his lapel? I think actually the Donald could probably get him in a head yoke anyway. I don't think.
Or he would say,
don't vote for me. I'll tell him, don't vote for me as usual, right?
Biden's secret weapon is he could say he learned to like kids on his lap and roaches.
What's his thing?
I can't get that out of my head.
If I have to hear this one more time, I think I'm going to throw up. But he can laugh at this. I'm going to beat him. I'm going to beat him like a drum.
Oh, that.
Dude,
what about when he
over and over again? I'm going to beat him like a drum.
Chris, I love when he says this. Look, like he talks about, I don't know, let's say illegal immigrants. Joe, there's 23 million here. Look, that's not who we are. I mean, he's not even endorsed by his president, Obama.
Oh, my goodness.
No one talks.
Why?
They're God. He's not even.
Why? Okay, but that begs a theory. What, he's trying to pave the way for his own wife? He's going to throw his endorsement behind someone else, like Hillary? I mean, why? It doesn't make any sense. Or is it because if he supports Biden and if Biden goes down in flames because all this corruption with Iraq and Ukraine and China come up, it's going to reflect badly on Obama too, and they're going to start asking some difficult questions about corruption with Obama. Come on, we should maybe that's a good way to get into get into Spygate. One way to call this is also Obamagate, or the plot. Again,
well, they're trying to keep him out of the media, Obama. He's been protected from day one.
Well, you want to talk a bit about the facts behind this? Now going from the madness to the facts here?
Well, I would love to quote.
Deception?
I'm not going to say that I knew about this before everyone else, but I do follow Victor David Hanson, who's pretty fair.
Yeah.
And he's from the Hoover Institution at Stanford.
Yeah.
And he wrote this article August 7th, 2018.
Yep.
That's a long time ago. What's that?
Wow.
A year and a half ago. And the article I printed out is The Police Were Not Policed.
Yeah.
And I put this on Facebook, and I had it out with people many a time.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not real. It can't be. It reads like a spy novel. And all of these
That's
things,
the whole point.
right. All of these things that he said was shocking. And it leads with the title, How Can Americans Now Trust the Intelligence Agencies Shown to Be Corrupt in the Very Recent Past? Now, this is 18 months ago. So he says, I'm paraphrasing, needs to be watched for its chronic efforts to sow more chaos in America,
Yeah.
despite Barack Obama's naive assertion in 2016 that no entity could possibly ever rig a U.S. election. Remember he kept saying that, Obama? I mean, you're in France, but he kept saying, oh, Donald Trump is not going to accept the election results. No country could ever compromise our election results. Then it became the mantra of the Democratic Party when Trump won, of course, right?
Yep.
So he says lately the heads of 4 U.S. intelligence security agencies, Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats, FBI Director Chris Wray, Homeland Security Secretary Kristen Nielsen, and National Security Agency Director Paul Nakasone, and National Security Advisor John Bolton held coordinated White House press conferences to remind America of the dangers of Russian chicanery. So he talks about Yeah, he talks about that.
Yeah.
And then he says, here's proof right here. And I'm not, we could run around with the specifics, but he says, this is a quote, the FBI joined forces with one political campaign to thwart the efforts of the opposing campaign. Has that ever happened before in American history? No, it hasn't. I mean, they're trying to get Trump on a phone call. I mean, this is just madness. And this is 18 months ago.
Yeah.
He says most recently it was disclosed 2 years after the fact.
Yep.
And despite the FBI's kicking and screaming and its refusal to release subpoena documents, that the FBI did, as alleged, offer to pay Christopher Steele to dig for dirt on the Trump campaign. So Steele, by the Hillary campaign, was paid to dig up dirt on Donald Trump. Now, recently, Comey denied, and so did Mueller, or Mueller did not know, actually, that the FISA warrants were given or okayed on the basis of an unproven and false Steele dossier. Comey admitted it finally when he was on Meet the Press, I believe maybe a month ago, 6 weeks ago, that, when the Horowitz report came out, the dossier was the main reason why we implemented and got these FISA warrants, meaning, but he denied it for years. So we also know that the FBI used at least one informant to spy on members of the Trump campaign.
Unbelievable.
In other words, the FBI joined forces with a political campaign, as we said. Has this ever happened in America's history? And we'll just go into a couple. I mean, 99% of people have no clue about this because they're only getting it from the mainstream media. And when this whole thing came out, it's fake news. Now everyone's saying it's fake news.
Unbelievable.
Like it's a section from Animal Farm or something. I mean, this whole fake news thing came out. Okay. So the fired former director Comey likely lied frequently to congressional subcommittees when he claimed that the dossier was not a primary source for the FISA court writ against Carter Page. Comey did write an FBI summary about the Clinton email scandal. Do you remember that? He exonerated Hillary Clinton before he interviewed Hillary Clinton.
Oh, my goodness.
So an exoneration was written before Clinton came in.
Unbelievable.
There was no video recording
Unbelievable.
of him interviewing Clinton.
Unbelievable.
There was no tape recording. There was no one who took notes. And she was able to have a lawyer there.
Unbelievable.
You can't make this up. I'm laughing because it's such a joke.
No, but it gets you angry. If you're going to say.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to give more details? Or you want to jump?
Yeah, I want to give just a couple more.
Yeah.
So
Well, let me just ask you. There's no doubt whatsoever that the Steele dossier originated with Clinton.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
That. I mean, it's incontrovertible.
Yes. Yes.
More so than that Biden Jr. is not relevant to the case. Okay, that's been debunked. Right? It's been debunked. Yeah. It's been debunked. Okay. No. Okay. Right. I mean, do they admit that though? I mean, do they not?
No, because most people don't know. I don't know. As you said, we talk about it being madness. I wonder if anyone's really genuine. Is someone?
No, but I mean, the Clintons of the world, the people supporting the Clintons, do they deny that connection or not?
Oh, I don't think they've ever been called on the carpet and gave an answer.
Okay.
But I want to say just a couple more things. Comey leaked at least one likely classified document written on FBI equipment.
Yep.
In a successful gambit to get a special counsel appointed, which turned out to be his friend Robert Mueller. Comey misled the FISA judge of the full origins of the Steele dossier. We said that. He also deceived the president by briefing him on selected bits of the dossier's content, but not informing the president that the information was paid by the Clinton campaign.
Unbelievable.
He also misled the president by assuring him he was not the subject of the investigation while he was. Remember, Trump kept saying, hey, I'm glad that I am not the subject of this investigation. Comey told me this. Comey told me this. No, it wasn't true. Okay? Chris, you can't make these things up. Here we go, and I'll just give you a couple more things. In addition, Comey must have known that DOJ official Bruce Orr, or even after the election, served as a likely conduit to the FBI for info passed to Orr by then-fired informant Christopher Steele. So DOJ official Bruce Orr was getting information from Chris Steele. In other words, during the Trump presidency, one of Trump's own DOJ officials, Bruce Orr, was secretly working with the FBI to undermine the Trump presidency.
Right.
Okay? Andrew McCabe, Comey's deputy, was fired for misleading and lying to federal investigators. But he oversaw the emails of the Clinton investigation, and he oversaw, I believe, the investigation into Trump. Okay?
Yeah.
So other FBI operatives, Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, were fired. Remember the emails?
Yeah.
Trump has to win, has to lose. Anyone who votes for Trump is, one of these hicks from the sticks. There's no way he could win. We need to have an insurance policy.
Right.
Okay. So, and in summary, I'll be quick, an entire array of FBI agents and associated DOJ officials, James Baker, Peter Kazdick, Michael Corton, David Loffman, and Andrew McCabe, Bruce Orr, Lisa Page, James Rybacki, Peter Strzok, and Sally Yates have now mysteriously either resigned, retired, or been reassigned, or been fired for allegedly unethical or perhaps even illegal behavior.
Unbelievable.
Okay. Current congressional committees are likely to reinvestigate former CIA Director Brennan for false testimonies. Now, this is 18 months ago. Remember, Brennan said about 3 months ago that they have Trump. They know he colluded with Russia. And then when nothing happened with the Mueller investigation, he said, I guess I got the wrong information.
Oh, my goodness.
This was the head of the CIA, dude.
Oh, man. It just sounds like dirty tricks from the deep state, right? From the intelligence community. And, goodness, from our law enforcers. That's a scary thing.
No, I don't want to bore you with it, but I just want to say in summary, any with the FBI, CIA, DOJ, and the NSC and the State Department have been involved in the greatest scandal in American electoral history.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. Okay, I mean, it depends what let me just say, it depends what your perspective is on, like, the JFK assassination It depends. It depends, I think actually in our modern times and with what we know now in terms of the facts that we do know that seem to be confirmed by most people.
Right.
Yeah, it may seem that way, but there have been probably some horrific scandals in the past that have been buried by history.
Let me just sum it up in this last paragraph here to show the collusion between FBI, CIA, and the mainstream media.
Yeah.
Former FBI Director Comey spent months on a book tour, punctuated by daily back and forth feuding with the president of the U.S.
Yeah.
Former CIA Director John Brennan is a current paid CNN analyst who devotes much of his commentary to calling the president treasonous and unfit. Former Director of the National Intelligence James Clapper is a paid MSNBC consultant who has alleged that the president is a Russian asset.
Man.
I mean,
did you see Peter Strzok's testimony before Congress and his eyes?
Oh yeah.
He's scary.
He looked demonic, didn't he?
That's a person who, without a doubt, same thing with Adam Schiff and Nadler and Pelosi. These are people who Malachi Martin would say are perfectly possessed. You could tell.
Just in summary, this is
tell me, please.
months ago.
Yeah.
Carter Page sues the Democratic National Committee and law firm for defamation. Carter Page.
Yep.
Okay. And Michael Flynn, probation is appropriate sentence for Michael Flynn, the feds say, in departure from earlier recommendation.
Yep.
Flynn, who they say lied under oath,
Yep.
who said he did not meet with Russian ambassador Sergei Kazalsky. So this guy,
good accent, very good.
Was ruined. Michael Flynn's career was ruined.
Yep.
They said he was going to do significant time.
Yep.
Now the judge is saying, "Wow!" After they found out things from the Horowitz report, maybe probation is what should be done. So,
well,
you go into these facts and run around for a long time.
So
but
my
you
point,
got the gist of it.
Yeah. So the point is, madness and deception are two sides of the same coin. To actually undermine the will of the people, to undermine democracy. In terms of madness, I was thinking about this quite a bit. There's so much evidence of it. Why would that be the case? There's something about Donald Trump and his personality and his boldness, his courage. He's a sledgehammer to political correctness. And I think people have built up a certain identity. And identity is based on, the cult of correctness. Maybe, for example, seeing themselves as a perpetual victim, right? They may not be doing well, relatively speaking, to what they perceive as being, the elites and the celebrities of the country and so on and so forth. And the reason why they may feel that way is because they believe that they've been unfairly treated over the course of their life. And then here comes a man who says, well, you should do well. You shouldn't complain about where you are in life. You're doing better than most of the world. And you can do better if you actually just think and behave in an appropriate way. There you go.
Yeah.
There are people who, like, for example, well, just more generally speaking, there are people who believe that the capitalist system is patently unfair, intrinsically unfair. And he's saying it's the best system that there is, no matter how unfair it might be.
Yeah.
Right? And just go crazy. Like, for example, this whole absurdity about what gender is and whether there is some sort of a spectrum of gender, which suggests there's an infinite varieties of gender with the whole alphabet community. And then he comes in and he says, well, so far as I know, I was brought up with, two sexes. And I think it still remains, So, people are flipping out about this type of rhetoric.
Yeah.
And he's had the freedom and the courage and the stage to speak very bluntly and very honestly about things that would seem to be within the rubric, the borders of common sense.
If I could just say one thing.
And it's very blunt about it. And I think these are the things that have led to some sort of individual and collective madness. But go ahead,
Yeah. I believe the Democrats and the left have gotten their way for a long period of time.
That's a good point.
These are people who are throwing tantrums.
Spoiled.
They're your young brother who got away with murder.
Living in the basement, playing video games is the whole...
Yeah, wait.
Right?
When you had a tantrum, I'm making this up. Let's say, you could say it might be true.
Yeah.
Your father would even hit you harder or, take away things from you.
Yeah.
Now now you have a brother who got away with, as we would say, murder.
Yeah.
You had temper tantrums,
Yeah.
and your mom would say, "Okay, I bought you the ice cream,"
Yeah.
or I bought you, the video game. So they're used to having their way, and
Yes.
now they have someone who's saying, "I don't care what your feelings are, you're not getting it, and if you want these things, you got to make it on your own." And as the senator from New York said, Moynihan, which I try to speak to people. And I mean, who am I? I'm just a regular guy. But you could have an opinion. That's fantastic. But your opinion is weak if it's not based on facts and evidence.
Got it.
For example, capitalism is horrific. There's poor. You have this woman, the congresswoman from Minnesota, who came here. She was a refugee.
Right. Omar.
The first thing she remembers, this came out 2 days ago, being in New York, they came here. She said the first thing she remembers about New York is the homeless people.
Oh my God, unbelievable.
Now, are you out of your freaking mind?
Mm-hmm.
You were a refugee.
Yep.
You don't remember the Empire State Building?
Goodness.
Don't remember the buildings?
Right.
Don't remember people accepting you? And the McDonald's on the corner or the KFC and the ability to buy whatever you want?
KFC.
Madness. Yeah, I'm always thinking of food, Chris. You know that.
Okay.
But it's madness.
Yeah.
It's madness.
Right.
The facts tell you otherwise.
Right.
Steven Pinker's book. We could go into that in another time. And many other books. Capitalism works. Yeah, there is a big gap between Bill Gates and me. But I'm possibly living better than my parents did.
Yeah.
Why do I care that someone has 4 billion if I have 1 million, let's just say, or what have you?
You have enough. You have enough. To be
I like
content.
your attitude.
You have enough. And what is enough anyway, for goodness sake? A roof over your head with a bit of space. You don't need that much space, for goodness sake. Safety, some provision for health care, and, eating 2 square meals a day. Actually, 3 is too much, by the way. That's why we're obese, for goodness sake. 2. That's
Not you. You look
too
good.
much.
I think I have a thyroid.
I'm eating too much. I'm eating too much. I need to lose some weight.
No.
Anyway, the bottom line, when it comes to deception, how in the world, you have to ask who the Democrats are playing to. When they come before the most important democratic body on the face of the earth, the U.S. Senate, House of Commons, U.S. Senate, and they go and the House managers, for the Democrats, when they present their case, and they say that we have not had any witnesses. Are you kidding me? They've had 18 witnesses. Who are they playing? Who are they speaking to? They're certainly not playing to the Senate. They're actually arguing, through the medium of C-SPAN, CNN and MSNBC and the mainstream media. Well, almost all of it is mainstream, for goodness sake. Almost all of it is, leftist oriented. Yeah. They're playing to the masses who don't know better and don't want to know better. That's what they're doing here. How in the world can they say that with a straight face? And then when they take Dershowitz's arguments, which are not necessarily brilliant, it's brilliant the way that he ties things in. That's brilliant. The arguments are relatively simple and easy for anyone to grasp. You don't need to get a PhD in jurisprudence to figure this out. Yeah. That these are not impeachable offenses, that they're on their face absurd. They're not. They're against the understanding of the founding fathers when they gave the authority to impeach. Yeah. But anyway, when they take those arguments and the House managers invert those arguments almost immediately in real time in front of his face, and how the inversion is played up in the mainstream press. Goodness, madness or deception? Obviously deception. All right, there are a lot of things we can say here. We go on forever. Let me just ask you one thing. This is what I need to know from you. Yeah, there's one thing I need to know is where is this going to end up in the end? What's up with the Barr investigation and Durham report? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, Barr said, I believe 2 months ago, that he believes Trump was spied on. I mean, Hansen said it in his article. Who has more to lose than Victor David Hansen, who's a professor at Stanford? It's confirmed. So,
are we going to see justice? What do you think?
Yeah, that's the question. And if we don't see justice, and may I say one thing? Mm-hmm. I was listening to a popular television host, Sean Hannity, just a little bit today.
Yeah.
And he's right. He keeps pressing people. When is this going to happen? Now, if it's fair. If someone's guilty, I think some of these people, I just read you what Hansen said.
Yep.
People need to go to jail. And you are correct. If this doesn't happen, it's all for nothing. And we will have a continuous stream of bad behavior from the left who think they could accuse you of things, and we have to be defensive about it.
Right.
The Republicans need to go on the offense, okay? And that's why they hate Trump, because he's a counterpuncher who's not going to let you talk about him. He'll punch you right back in the face, So once again, we said this, is Barr and Durham willing to risk their future and to have skin in the game? Because hell will be unleashed upon them if they find all these things out.
All roads lead in this saga of American history to the Bronx, New York. Almost every player is connected to the Bronx, New York.
Trump's
Certainly New York.
Attorney.
Even Michael Voorhees.
Yes, sir.
Yonkers, right on the border.
Yeah, he actually studied in Yonkers, but he lived on the Grand
Forest. Okay, yeah, Giuliani went to NYU. He went to the NYU campus within the Bronx, New York as well, too, which is now Bronx Community.
Well, he went to Manhattan College, undergrad, too.
Oh my goodness, look at that. Donald Trump, his father is from what? Tremont, isn't he? In the Bronx, New York.
He's from the Bronx originally, and Trump went to Fordham as well.
And he went to Fordham originally, then he went on to Penn. What about Barr?
Trump's
Barr.
lead attorney.
What about Barr? Yeah.
No, look, let's be honest. If you're from New York, I don't care if you're from Brooklyn or Queens. You have family from the Bronx and vice versa. We all overlaps.
Yeah. I mean, goodness sake. The former director of the CIA, Bronx.
Okay, Brennan.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
He studied at Fordham.
Like Fordham. Yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah, good Catholic,
And Trump's lead attorney.
Yeah.
Went to Fordham and it's from the Bronx.
It's unbelievable. Wow.
What's his name? Cipollone? I believe. I don't know how I remember that.
We have to get these names.
I want to say one more thing.
Yeah, tell me. Yeah.
We're talking about mudslinging and throwing things around to destroy people.
Yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard has a $50 million lawsuit against Hillary Clinton because I believe Hillary said she was like a Russian agent.
Russian spy, yeah.
I mean, come on. So,
well, she's not. She may be not a Russian spy to be. to be fair to the crooked one,
a Russian asset.
A Russian asset. So you could be a Russian asset unbeknownst to you. So just to be fair to the crooked one.
So wait, Hillary Clinton wouldn't accept the lawsuit, but finally they accepted it. I guess it was.
Did you hear that one of the funniest things I heard the last few weeks is actually Trump at one of his rallies. Man, I forgot what he said. That I'm sure that bill probably refers to Hillary, his wife, as Crooked Hillary. But since they're so close, I'm sure he just calls her Crooked.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Crooked, come here. Join me in bed.
Hey, the legal document was trying to serve it to Hillary 3 times, and it was denied in Chappaqua and one of her offices. But finally, they accepted the legal document. So you've been served, I guess, right?
Really?
Yeah. Hillary in October said Tulsi was a favorite of the Russians. I mean, they keep going on.
Yeah, probably. She's the best looking for maybe that helps.
Yeah. And she's pretty, isn't she?
Yeah, and Putin has an eye for the girl, so why not?
Yeah, sure, right? I mean, who knows?
Oh, man, Putin.
But, yeah, we're good, right?
My wife says Putin is her favorite dictator, whatever that might mean.
Wow.
My favorite dictator.
Just getting to what we're talking. Just one more thing that we're talking about. Victor David Hansen says again in January 30th, this is from National Review.
Yeah.
He talks about the cult of West shaming.
Yeah.
He says if the West is guilty of carbon crimes, racism, and bigotry, what are China and Iran guilty of? Woke elites prefer not to say. So he talks about the young girl Thornburg who comes out and says, shame on you.
We are watching you.
Meanwhile, she says nothing about the emissions of India and China. Or when you have those women who are woke, who put down America, how, let's say, we're biased against women and we have a rape culture. They don't want to talk about the rape culture in the Middle East. So he said, what's going on there, you know?
Right. Good.
And he said, historian Niall Ferguson has pointed out that Swedish green tea celebrity Greta Thunberg might be more effective in her advocacy for reducing carbon emissions by redirecting her animus. Instead of hectoring Europeans and Americans who have recently achieved the planet's most dramatic drops in the use of fossil fuels, Thunberg might instead turn her attention to China and India. And her "how dare you" complaints to get their leaders to curb carbon dioxide emissions.
Unbelievable. I think we should leave on that note, and we should continue this saga. The saga is going to be the most interesting 11 or 10 months of our entire life. I think the world, in terms of where the world is going, I think for all of us, we're all in the same stew, aren't we?
Yes, sir.
And we should revisit the question of virus, because a lot of things are coming up about the coronavirus.
Yeah, I think the numbers are up to 12,000. It's probably 100,000.
It's not that. It's actually what we're actually fighting against and the origin of that virus.
Well, remember,
very strange.
I live very close to the largest Chinatown in America, Flushing. And my friend tells me that everyone's wearing a mask. And,
so and your significant other is also from China too. Don't forget that. But right.
Well, that's what I'm. My friend. Hey, so this was fantastic. Signing off.
All right, man. I'll see you soon. All right.
All right. God bless.
Peace.